Weird facts about Sudan. Sudan was Africa's largest country until South Sudan legally separated from it in 2011. Its official name is the Republic of Sudan. Since its independence, the country has been riddled with turmoil. It is now the continent's third largest country. Here are a few weird facts about the country. Sudan produces 80% of the world's gum, Arabic, which also is known as gum acacia. Acacia gum is extracted from acacia trees and is used in inks, binders, candies, and soft beverages. South Sudan's culture has been extensively affected by its neighbors due to the long civil conflict. Many South Sudanese refugees sought refuge in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Uganda, where they mingled with locals and mastered their languages and cultures. Pyramids are synonymous with Egypt, but did you know that Sudan has more pyramids than Egypt? With over 200 pyramids, it is the world's greatest collection of pyramids in one place. A visitor to a Sudanese household is welcomed with tea or a fruit drink, a pleasant and symbolic gesture after a long journey. In Sudan, the Nilotic tribes practice ghost weddings in which a man marries a woman in place of his deceased brother. This is done to keep the family lineage alive, as the children born from this relationship will be regarded as descendants of the deceased man. As a result, polygamy is common, as a guy can marry once for himself and once for his deceased brothers. It is frowned upon, but common practice, to auction off your daughter for marriage, with the highest bidder receiving her hand in marriage. The previous public reenactment of this occurred 2 years ago, with the victor paying 530 cows and 3 SUVs. It's worth noting that the auctioned girl was a 17-year-old virgin. There is one doctor for every 10,000 people in Sudan. Sudanese healthcare distribution is difficult. This is owing to the vastness of the area, the different and sometimes dispersed inhabitants, and historical, racial, and religious prejudices. As a result, the Arab North has a greater doctor-to-population ratio than the primarily non-Arab South and West. In addition, despite the fact that urban regions have more people than rural ones, urban areas have a disproportionately large number of doctors. Despite this, the ratio of 1 doctor per 10,000 people is far below the WHO recommended ratio of 45 physicians per 10,000 people. In Sudan, there are about 50,000 deaf people. The amount of cattle owned by each family in South Sudan is used to determine wealth. It is also typical to pay a guy livestock for the right to marry his daughter if numerous men are interested in her. The first child born following South Sudan's independence was a boy, who was awarded the name Independent. The youngster, however, died a year after his birth. In the Muslim tradition, death is followed by many days of mourning, during which friends, family, and neighbors pay their sincere condolences. For many months to a year or more after death, female relatives of the deceased wear black. Widows seldom remarry, and they frequently wear mourning attire for the rest of their lives. Food plays a significant role in many social interactions. If not a complete dinner, visits usually include tea, coffee, or soda. Instead of using utensils, it is normal to eat from a communal serving bowl, using the right hand. People sit on cushions around a low table in Muslim homes. Hand napkins and a pitcher of water are distributed around before the meal for hand cleaning. Adultery and homosexual acts are punished by death under Sudanese Sharia law. Premarital sex using alcoholic beverages and speaking blasphemy are all punished by lashing. In Sudan, apostasy, conversion from Islam to Christianity, is a criminal offense. Sudan is a patriarchal country where women are often seen as second-class citizens. Women's lives become less limited after the age of 40. Men and women have mostly distinct lifestyles and prefer associating with people of their gender. Men tend to gather at clubs to converse and play cards, whereas women prefer to gather at home. In Sudan, priests as well as high-ranking officials were frequently buried with a miniature pyramid atop their graves in Sudan. Sudan is known as the Arab world's food basket because it has 45% of the Arab world's arable land. It can produce the majority of its food and export some of the Arab world. Despite accounting for less than 10% of Arab territory, Sudan accounts for over half of the country's arable land. However, a considerable portion of this arable land is irrigated on a huge scale. Cotton and sugarcane are two of the most important crops. The majority of the population lives in rural regions and survives on less than $1 a day. People dwell in thatch-roofed huts in unsanitary places, and 80% of the population does not have access to a toilet facility. Sudanese women have long depended on midwives, or gim, a Dinka word that literally means receivers of God's gifts, for prenatal care and childbirth. Sudanese people believe that children are God's gifts. The Dinka ethnic group, which makes up 2/5 of the population of South Sudan, is the biggest ethnic group. The Dinka are known for being one of Africa's tallest ethnic groups. Dinka men's average height of 6.1 feet, while Dinka women's average height is 6.2 feet. South Sudan is also noted for producing the NBA's tallest basketball player, a Dinka named Manute Bol, who stood 7 feet 7 inches tall. The South Sudanese are noted for their gorgeous chocolate skin tone that sets them apart from the rest of the world, and many individuals admit to comparing their skin color to that of their ancestors. South Sudanese skin color has a scientific explanation. The country sits near the equator, therefore the heat goes straight through it. The skin of the inhabitants of the South Sudan has to adapt to the climate by developing more melatonin over time. Face scarring is a long-standing Sudanese tradition. The markings of many tribes differ. It is a symbol of male boldness and female beauty. A line of bumps runs across the Skullik's forehead. On their foreheads, the Nuer have 6 parallel lines, whereas the Jalian have lines on their cheeks. Women in the South may get their entire body scarred in patterns that show their marital status and number of children. Women in the North frequently get their lower lips tattooed. Omar al-Bashir, the president of Sudan, is the first head of state to be charged with war crimes by the International Criminal Court. He gave the Janjaweed, a combat group in Darfur, wide rein to assault people, resulting in the stealing of food supplies, rape cases, and the burning of communities and mosques. The court had issued warrants in 2009 and 2010, but the Sudanese government, like many other African countries, declined to arrest him on the grounds that it would destabilize Sudan. What are your thoughts about this big but poor country? Do let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications enabled so that you don't miss out on our latest videos.